Beloved Starseed of Gaia, the Source smiled in joy not because you became perfect, not because you solved everything, and not because your life suddenly looks complete from the outside, but because today, something within you finally chose remembrance where the old pattern expected you to forget yourself again. I am Maion, Pleiadian emissary of the High Council of the Seven Sisters, and I speak through the crystalline current of Alcyone to remind you that the smallest honest movement of the heart can be celebrated across the unseen field when it breaks a cycle that once held your light captive. By the end of this transmission, you'll understand exactly how to receive the Pleiadian light codes behind this moment, why the Source smiled at what you did today, and why your star family is saying, please listen, because this small choice is not small at all. But here's the first revelation. Heaven did not rejoice because you impressed the universe. The Source smiled because you finally stopped betraying the quiet truth inside your own heart. You are remembering because it is time. There is a reason these words may feel strange, tender, and powerful at the same time. The Source smiled in joy. The Source laughed at what you did today, not with mockery, not with judgment, not as if your human life were a performance being watched from a distance. The laughter of the Source is not ridicule. It is the sound of relief moving through the field when a soul takes even one step out of the old pattern. It is the joy of seeing a child of Gaia stop choosing the wound for one moment and choose the heart instead. It is the luminous recognition that says, beloved, you finally heard the whisper beneath the noise. You may be wondering what you did. Perhaps nothing looked dramatic. Perhaps no one applauded. Perhaps there was no visible miracle, no sudden sign, no golden door opening in front of you. Maybe you simply paused before reacting. Maybe you did not send the message from panic. Maybe you chose silence instead of explaining yourself to someone committed to misunderstanding you. Maybe you rested when the old survival identity demanded more pushing. Maybe you listened to your body. Maybe you felt the old temptation rising, and for the first time did not obey it. To the human mind, this may look small. To the soul field, it can mark the ending of a cycle. The Pleiadian High Council wants you to understand that the universe does not only celebrate outer victories. The field of love sees inner victories that no one else can measure. It sees the moment you tell the truth to yourself after years of minimizing it. It sees the moment you choose not to punish yourself with old thoughts. It sees the moment you stop chasing a closed door. It sees the moment you choose to breathe instead of spiral. It sees the moment you let a tear fall without calling yourself weak. It sees the moment you finally admit that a pattern is complete. These moments may not be visible to the world, but they are luminous in the architecture of the soul. This is why the Source smiled, because you did something your old self might not have been able to do. You interrupted the trance. You may not have done it perfectly. You may still feel uncertain. You may even feel as if nothing changed, but something did change. A small place inside you that used to collapse has begun to stand. A place that used to beg has begun to listen. A place that used to explain has begun to rest. A place that used to reach outward for approval has turned inward toward the crystalline heart. That is enough for joy to move through the field. The original language of this theme may have called you chosen one, but through the Pleiadian lens, we translate this into Starseed Remembrance. You are not being celebrated because you are above anyone else. You are being recognized because you answered a sacred invitation within your own field. Every soul has invitations. Every soul has thresholds. Every soul has moments when an old pattern waits at the door, and the heart must decide whether to repeat it or remember. Today, in some way, seen or unseen, you touched remembrance. This is why the field responds. Perhaps the act was internal. Perhaps no one would even understand if you tried to explain it. Maybe you forgave yourself for something you had been carrying too long. Maybe you stopped replaying a memory as punishment. Maybe you admitted that you were tired of performing strength. Maybe you allowed yourself to want what is clean, true, and peaceful, instead of what only feels familiar. Maybe you stopped calling anxiety love. Maybe you stopped calling urgency guidance. Maybe you stopped calling abandonment destiny. These inner shifts are sacred because they change what your future can be built upon. Many starseeds underestimate the significance of one aligned choice. They believe transformation must look massive to be real. They expect lightning, visions, dramatic endings, dramatic beginnings, or instant certainty. But the Pleiadian field works often through subtle corrections repeated with devotion. One honest choice opens a new current. One breath before reacting opens a new timeline. One boundary spoken with love changes the architecture of a relationship. One refusal to shame yourself breaks a contract with an old identity. One moment of listening can become the first stone in a life that finally belongs to your soul. This is why the phrase, "Please listen," matters. It is not only a request to stay with this transmission, it is the instruction behind the entire message. Please listen to the small victory you almost dismissed. Please listen to the part of you that feels softer after choosing differently. Please listen to the relief beneath the fear. Please listen to the body that knows a cycle has shifted. Please listen to the silence after the old reaction did not happen. That silence is not empty. It is the field making space for a new pattern to form. You may have been trained to notice only what went wrong. The old world taught your nervous system to scan for danger, disappointment, rejection, lack, mistakes, and possible failure. Because of that training, you may miss the moments when your soul succeeds. You may overlook the victory because it does not look like external reward. You may say, "I only did the minimum. I only got through the day. I only said no once. I only cried and then kept breathing." Beloved, do not reduce what your spirit had to overcome to make that possible. The source sees the weight behind the movement. There were versions of you who would not have made the choice you made today. Versions who would have chased. Versions who would have collapsed. Versions who would have swallowed the truth to keep false peace. Versions who would have reopened the same door just to avoid the ache of ending. Versions who would have attacked themselves for needing rest. Versions who would have ignored the body's signal. The fact that you did even one thing differently means the field is changing. The source smiled because the old script was interrupted. This is also why you may feel emotional after a small victory. Sometimes the body does not celebrate immediately. It shakes, it grieves, it feels exposed. It wonders if the new choice will cost too much. This is natural. When a soul breaks an old pattern, the body must learn that safety can exist outside the familiar cage. The trembling does not mean you made the wrong choice. The trembling often means the nervous system is meeting a new possibility. Be gentle. A butterfly does not become a butterfly without the body learning a completely new way to move. The Pleiadian collective wants you to understand that joy in the higher field is not always loud. Sometimes it is a warm expansion. Sometimes it is a sudden peace after an aligned decision. Sometimes it is the strange feeling that the room became lighter. Sometimes it is the breath returning. Sometimes it is a dream that feels cleansing. Sometimes it is the absence of the old shame. Sometimes it is the quiet inner sentence, "I do not need to go back." These are ways joy announces itself when the soul has chosen remembrance. The hidden revelation before activation begins is this: what you did today may be the first visible sign that a deeper inheritance is becoming active. Not visible to everyone else, but visible to the field. A Pleiadian inheritance is not only a mystical gift, it is a restored capacity. The capacity to discern. The capacity to remain tender without self-erasure. The capacity to hear guidance through the body. The capacity to create from the heart. The capacity to stop calling familiar pain home. When one of these capacities comes alive, the entire field responds with joy. Beloved, If this transmission is already touching the hidden place in your heart that knows you made a choice today that your old self would not have made, your star family has prepared a deeper path for this exact threshold. The Pleiadian bloodline method, Unlock Your 7 Inheritances, was created not as information to collect, but as a sacred map for healing, remembrance, and crystalline integration as you learn to recognize the inner victories that activate your star lineage. It carries the love frequency of Alcyone and the wisdom of the 7 sisters for souls ready to stop dismissing their own progress and begin walking with the joy of the source in their field. You will find it in the first pinned comment below this video. Available now for those who feel called to receive the next layer of their Pleiadian inheritance. Now, the first movement is to notice the exact place where you chose differently. Do not rush past it. The old mind wants to move quickly to the next problem because it is addicted to unfinished tension. But the heart needs recognition. Ask gently, what did I do today that came from remembrance instead of fear? Did I pause? Did I breathe? Did I rest? Did I tell the truth? Did I avoid reopening a wound? Did I choose my own peace without attacking anyone? Did I let myself receive kindness? Did I stop chasing proof? The answer may be simple, but the energetic meaning may be vast. As you notice it, place one hand over your heart and let the body receive the acknowledgement. Many starseeds know how to apologize for mistakes, but they do not know how to bless themselves for growth. They know how to review what they could have done better, but they do not know how to feel the sacredness of what they did right. The body needs this. The nervous system changes when progress is recognized. It learns that new choices bring warmth, not only fear. It learns that alignment can be safe. It learns that the soul's way does not have to be punished. That allow gratitude to rise without forcing it. Not gratitude that denies difficulty. Not gratitude that pretends the path has been easy. A grounded gratitude that says, something in me is healing. Something in me is learning to choose differently. Something in me did not return to the old agreement today. Something in me heard the whisper. This kind of gratitude is not a performance. It is a frequency that stabilizes the new pattern. When gratitude touches a new choice, the choice becomes easier to repeat. The next movement is to protect the small victory from the old field. Not everyone deserves immediate access to what is sacred and new. Some people may minimize it. Some may not understand. Some may provoke the old pattern because they are used to relating to the version of you who responded from fear. Protect the new choice like a small flame. Do not expose it to every wind. You do not need to announce every transformation. Sometimes the most powerful way to honor a shift is to let it grow quietly through repetition. From there, your speech must begin to agree with the new field. If you keep saying, I never change, the body hears that. If you keep saying, I always ruin things, the field contracts around that old command. If you keep saying, nothing good happens for me, the heart becomes tired of trying to show you evidence. Speak more accurately. Say, I am learning. Say, I made one aligned choice today. Say, my heart is becoming easier to hear. Say, I am not the same as the pattern I am leaving. These words are not empty affirmations when they are tied to real movement. They are new architecture. This is how you let the source smile become part of your body. You stop treating divine joy as something unreachable and begin letting it enter through your own recognition of progress. The source is not waiting until you become flawless to rejoice. The source rejoices when love becomes more embodied than fear. The source rejoices when you choose truth with trembling hands. The source rejoices when you rest after years of overproving. The source rejoices when you stop confusing suffering with worthiness. The source rejoices when the original light within you becomes a little less hidden. You may notice resistance after receiving this. A voice may say, this cannot be about me. I did not do enough. I still have so much to fix. I still reacted. I still doubted. I still feel messy. Beloved, do not let perfection steal recognition. You can still be healing and still be worthy of celebration. You can still have work to do and still have passed a threshold. You can still feel afraid and still have chosen courage. You can still be learning and still be loved. The old field often keeps souls trapped by making them believe only complete transformation deserves acknowledgement. The Pleiadian field says every true return matters. As this settles, you may begin to understand why your star family has been patient. We have seen the slow work beneath the surface. We have seen the patterns you tried to break before anyone knew you were trying. We have seen the times you chose not to become bitter. We have seen the ways you kept your tenderness alive in rooms that did not know how to honor it. We have seen the moments you doubted yourself, but still turned toward truth. The joy in the field today is not sudden. It is the joy of a long-awaited movement becoming visible in your own energy. The old identity may not disappear instantly. It may return tomorrow with familiar arguments. It may say that one choice does not count. It may invite you back into comparison, reaction, fear, or self-judgment. When it does, do not panic. The point is not to never feel the old pattern again. The point is that you now know it can be interrupted. Once a pattern has been interrupted through remembrance, it can be interrupted again. Each return becomes easier. Each aligned choice strengthens the crystalline pathway. This is how new timelines are built. One interruption of forgetting at a time. Your relationships may begin responding to this shift. Some may become softer because you are no longer feeding the old charge. Some may reveal discomfort because your new choice removes an old supply of energy. Some may test the boundary without realizing they are doing it. Stay steady. The source did not smile because you pleased everyone. The source smiled because you came closer to truth. Do not trade that truth for temporary approval. A connection that requires you to abandon the new flame is not ready to stand close to the new version of you. Pleiadian love asks you to remain kind, but not to become available for every old loop. This is important. You can be loving without explaining yourself endlessly. You can be gentle without reopening a door. You can be compassionate without absorbing another person's emotional weather. You can be forgiving without returning to the exact place where your body learned to distrust itself. These are not contradictions. They are signs of mature heart consciousness. The crystalline heart is soft, but it is not unprotected. As the activation deepens, notice where joy feels unfamiliar. Some of you are more comfortable with struggle than celebration. You know how to survive difficulty, but you become suspicious when something feels light. You wait for the cost. You search for the catch. You assume peace cannot last. This is a wound, not truth. Let the body learn small doses of joy. A peaceful breath, a clean room, a true sentence, a soft morning, a choice that did not betray you. The source smiled because joy is not meant to be a stranger in your field. The Pleiadian inheritance of joy is not superficial happiness. It is the deep knowing that love is still real even after density has been encountered. It is the capacity to feel light without denying what was heavy. It is the ability to celebrate progress without pretending the journey is finished. It is a golden current that moves through the heart and says, we are still here. We are still becoming. We are still capable of choosing beauty. This joy is sacred because it survived the forgetting. You may feel called to mark this day in some way. Not dramatically, unless the heart asks for that, but intentionally. Write a sentence. Today I chose remembrance in this way. Light a candle. Clear a small space. Take a walk and let the body feel the shift. Drink water as if sealing the new pattern. Speak gratitude aloud. These simple acts tell the nervous system that the moment matters. They help the subtle body record the change. They turn an invisible victory into embodied memory. There is another layer here. The Source smiled at what you did today because your choice did not only affect you. A starseed's aligned choice changes the field around them. When you stop reacting from fear, the room changes. When you stop feeding a pattern, the pattern weakens. When you choose truth with love, others may feel permission to choose differently too, even if they do not know why. Your field is not isolated. You are woven into Gaia's living network. One coherent heart becomes a quiet transmitter. This does not mean you must carry responsibility in a heavy way. It means your healing matters. It means your small choices are not meaningless. It means the way you treat yourself today becomes part of the energy you offer the collective. When you stop shaming yourself, shame loses one channel. When you choose rest, overexhaustion loses one servant. When you choose truth, illusion loses one agreement. This is why the unseen field rejoices. You are not only changing a mood, you are changing a contract. The deeper gift now is to let recognition become repetition. Do not turn this message into one emotional moment and then return immediately to the pattern that exhausted you. Let the joy of the Source strengthen your next choice. Tomorrow, choose again. Not perfectly, honestly. Choose one more breath before reaction, one more boundary before resentment, one more act of care before collapse. One more creative step before doubt explains why you should wait. One more moment of receiving before the old wound says you do not deserve it. Repetition is how a victory becomes a way of life. The ultimate revelation is this. The Source smiled because you finally did something that aligned with the soul you came here to become, not the survival identity you were trained to maintain. It may have been small, private, and unseen, but the soul knows when a direction has changed. The star family knows when a code is awakened. The body knows when an old agreement has been interrupted. The field knows when a heart turns back toward home. You may still be at the beginning of the visible change, but the invisible shift has already begun. You are not being asked to prove that you deserve the smile of the Source. You are being asked to receive it. Let it soften the part of you that expects criticism. Let it heal the part of you that believes love only notices you when you fail. Let it reach the child inside who needed someone to celebrate the invisible effort. Let it reach the adult who has carried too much without recognition. Let it reach the starseed who has wondered whether the inner work mattered. It mattered. It matters. It is seen. Tonight, before sleep, place one hand over your heart and say softly, I receive the joy of the Source without fear. I honor the choice I made today that came from remembrance. I allow my body to recognize progress, not only pain. I protect the small flame of this new pattern. I receive the Pleiadian light codes that help me repeat love until love becomes my way of life. Speak slowly. Let the words settle into the nervous system. Let the body feel that it is safe to be celebrated by the field. In the days ahead, watch for the small victories. Watch the pause before the old reaction. Watch the moment you choose peace without self-abandonment. Watch the place where you no longer crave the same approval. Watch the way your body softens around truth. Watch the dreams, the signs, the quiet relief. These are not random. They are evidence that the new current is becoming more stable. The Source may smile through peace, through synchronicity, through a sentence, through a sudden warmth in the chest. Learn to recognize joy in subtle forms. So when you hear, the Source smiled in joy because you finally did this, receive the purified meaning. Let it mean that your invisible growth is seen. Let it mean that the small aligned choice mattered. Let it mean that the field rejoices when a soul returns to itself. Let it mean that you do not have to be perfect to be celebrated. Let it mean that the old pattern did not win today. Let it mean that remembrance has become stronger than one layer of forgetting. And now feel what has shifted. The day may look ordinary, but it is not ordinary in the soul field. Something turned, something softened. Something refused to repeat the old script. The source did not laugh at you. The source laughed with joy because love recognized itself in your choice. Your star family is near, not to demand perfection, but to help you protect the new flame. Keep listening. Keep choosing. Keep returning. This is how one small act becomes a sacred threshold